We can go back to what we were. We can go back to what we were. We can go back to what we were. To what we
All right, and shalom, shalom. So, welcome to Oklahoma City King James Bible University. And I'm Deacon Micah, and today, then we're going to be moving forward with our series, and it is the heaven and earth to come. So, part 3. So, before then we get into today's precepts, which, if you're looking at my screen, we're going to be working this time out of the box that's on the far right. And before we get into that, then we'll just be going over some recaps just to make sure that if anybody is jumping in on this teaching and you didn't get a chance to see part 2 or part 1, gonna just do a little recap. So start off with that. So what we're going over in the series is just a very important topic, and it is the choice that all of us has to make, whether we are going to become a citizen or stay a citizen of this world right here, or to become a citizen of the one to come. And the problem is that, we have these scoffers that doubt the promise of his coming and will reason amongst themselves to enjoy this world, not knowing that, when you join yourself to this world, you're tying yourself to the lust of the eyes and the lust of the flesh and the pride of the life that's in this world. And when you do that, you become an enemy of the Most High. So then you can't have your cake and eat it with this kingdom that we're in right now and the one to come. You're going to gain one and lose the other one. And the thing is with that being said, you don't want to live this life till its fullest, or try and live your best life according to the flesh, and then because of that you end up missing out on the kingdom to come. So before we get started, we want to go over here with this box right over here to the left. So this is our precepts from 2 weeks ago, and we're going to start our recap with 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 3 and 4. And it reads, so knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, and this is what they're going to do. So walking after their own lusts and saying, where is the promise of his coming? We have a lot of people that do that today, where you tell them about the truth, or then you start showing them some precepts, and if they have unbelief and doubt in their heart, they're going to mock and scoff at you because they see things are continuing the way that it is now, not knowing that the Most High, then he's in control, then he's commanding the sun to come up, and he's the one that's running the entire earth, and he's calling it day by day. But they don't realize that. So let's continue on with verse 4. For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. So this is the reasonings of like these scoffers, and we're going to recap some more. So we'll continue down and we'll go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2 verse 6. And this is what they do. Actually, let's go to 5. So for our time is a very shadow that passes away, which that's according to the flesh in this world, because every last one of us, then we have to die. And after our end, there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again, because you only get one chance to live this life according to the flesh. And afterwards, the judgment, then it comes next. So this is what their reasoning is. So come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present. Let us speedily use the creatures like as in the youth. And the problem with this is when you are looking for the things that you can see right now, then it's temporal. And it's things that you're supposed to be waiting on that you can't see, then it's eternal. So, we're getting ready to recap more out of this left box. And now we're looking at 2 Corinthians 4 and 18, where it reads, so while we look not at the things which are seen, which that's the things that you can see right now in this temporal world, the tangible things that you can see and touch, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal. And that's the end of that thought right there. We got that semicolon. But the things which are not seen are eternal. So, applying that to this teaching, when you're looking at this world right here and you're, pondering and meditating on the one to come, the one that you're in right now, then it's temporal, and the one to come, then it's eternal. So now then we're getting ready to pull up the King James Version online, and we're getting ready to go to the book of James 4 and 4, and we're getting ready to steer the spot some more. So going to the book of James, got to go down Go to chapter 4, verse 4. So, ye adulterers and adulteresses. So, this is addressed to us. So, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God, because of the flesh that's in this world and all of the wickedness and the lust of the eyes. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. And you don't want to be an enemy of the Most High. So we have to let that sink in. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God, which got another precept. So we'll go to the book of 1 John and we'll go to chapter 2, verse 15 through 17. So John 2, 15 through 17. So love not the world, which is this one that we're in right now. So neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. And this is why. So for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh. So that's one thing that's in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes. And here's number 3. And the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And you cannot serve 2 masters. And the world passes away, and the lust thereof. But, here's the contrast right here. He that doeth the will of God, which is your sanctification, not being caught up in this uncleanness that's in this world, but abstaining from it. So, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. So that's what we have to remember. So we'll let that sink in for a second and then we'll move forward. All right, so we're getting ready to pull back up the preceptor, and we're going to recap some more, and we'll look at some precepts that we did from last week's teaching. So now we're in this middle box right here, and what we'll do is we'll go to 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9. So we pull it up. So 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9, and this is for these scoffers that ask, where's the promise of his coming? So the Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, because that's what a lot of us unbelievers, we do. And we count his promise like a slackness. And this is the thing, but is long suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. So the Most High, then we know that he's controlling everything. And the thing that we have to remember with the Most High is it's not his will that we should be destroyed. And every time that sun comes up, every day that you get to wake up, it's another chance for you to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. But we're running on borrowed time, and you can think of it as an hourglass that you can't see. That's just constantly running, and as soon as the time runs out, that's it. And you can also think of it as, you're taking a test. Like you're in this war right now, and we already know that Exodus chapter 16, verse 4, then it's saying that, the Most High, then he's raining manna. And we're getting a certain rate every day, and he's proving us on what we're learning. So we're being tested. And once time runs out, you can't undo anything, then you can't go back and change anything. It's like being in school when you're taking a timed exam, a timed quiz. And after the teacher calls that time, then she collects all of the tests, he or she, then you can't go back to that teacher and tell them, I want to change my answers. I want to change, what I did, what I selected, and that's it. So then we have to look at it that way, like we're running on borrowed time. So let's also look at Psalms chapter 15. Psalms chapter 50, verse 1, excuse me. So we're going to look right here where my mouse is at. So we're in the middle box. So Psalms 50 and 1. So the mighty God, even the Lord, has spoken and called the earth from the rising of the sun and to the going down thereof. So that's for these scoffers then that are questioning and looking for the promise of his coming. Just because things, they continue the way that they are doesn't mean that the Most High is not in control, because he is, then every single day. So, while we still have time in this world, and you don't doubt the Most High, and you don't question, whether he's there or not, because he is. we already seen in 2 Corinthians 4:18 that the things which are not seen are eternal, and the Most High than He is a spirit. So now we're getting ready to go to the third box, and we're getting ready to start this teaching, which this will be the final series. So now we have 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10. So we're starting off with this verse right here. So it reads, "But the day of the Lord will come." So I'm a bolus. It's coming as a thief in the night. Then that's an completely a thought by itself, and it's right by itself, and it's just that clear. It's coming, and it's going to come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up, which, we had just read 1 John chapter 2, verse 14 through 17. The lust that's in this world right now and the pride thereof, then it's going to pass away, but he that doeth the will of the Most High, then he's going to abide. So this is also like a second witness right here with Peter, letting us know right now that the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. We'd just seen that. So we'll also pull this back up, and we'll look at 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. So we're right now back in the middle box. So got our first precept. So 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 7 and 8. "But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men." So the destruction of ungodly men. "But, beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing." So let's not be ignorant of this, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. But we know that the day, then it's coming as a thief in the night. And, this heaven and earth that, these scoffers are trying to enjoy and live to their fullest, it's held by the word, and it's reserved for fire on the day of his judgment. So, this is a serious thing that all of us, we have to always keep in mind. So we're getting ready to look at some precepts, and we're going to go to the 2 Esdras chapter 4, verse 33 through 36. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. So we are back in the King James Version online, and we'll go to 2 Esdras chapter 4, verse 33 through 36. So go ahead and take us there. 33. All right. So this is Esdras. So picking it up at 33, "Then I answered and said, So how and when shall these things come to pass? So wherefore are our years few and evil?" So, Esdras, and he's asking a question similar to what we were looking at 2 Peter. And we're getting ready to see what's going to be told to him. So verse 34, "And he answered me, saying, Do not thou hasten above the Most Highest, for thou haste is in vain to be above him, but thou hast much exceeded. Did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers?" So a lot of us are asking the same thing, saying, "How long shall I hope on this fashion? And when cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward?" And unto these things Uriel the archangel gave them answer and said, "Even when the number of seeds," which I'm going to park right here and highlight that, "is filled in you. For he has weighed the world in the balance, and by measure has he measured the times, and by number has he numbered the times. And he do not move nor steer them until the said measure be fulfilled." Which, going back to verse 36, then at seeds, I highlighted that. We know that Luke 8 and 11 lets us know that the seed is the word of God. So while this heaven and earth is going right now, you have Hebrews, just like us that are around this world, and they're doing what they need to do to be had its seed filled. And once the Most High gets the number that he's looking for, then this heaven and earth right here, then it's a wrap. So, you can't be a sloth, and you can't be lazy. Then you have to make sure that every day you're doing your work, and you're being about your Father's business. So another precept that we have for the second Idris, chapter 4, verse 33 through 36. We're going to go to the book of Revelations and go to chapter 7, verse 1 through 3. This is our next precept. So I'm going to look at that. All right, and picking it up at verse 1. Let me zoom this in because I do remember. All right. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, so holding the 4 winds, which that spiritual of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree, which all 3 of these items, the earth, the sea, and any tree, like all of this is spiritual. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. So this is our next precept right here that's letting you know what's going down. So all of this, which we had already seen that in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 7, this heaven and earth, and it's reserved for fire and destruction. But until that appointed time hits Most High, then he's waiting for the number of his seal to be fulfilled. So like this is a serious matter. Then we have to just always keep that in mind. So now we're getting ready to look at some more precepts. We're going to go to 1 Thessalonians. We'll go to chapter 5, verse 2 and 3. All right, so picking it up at verse 2. So for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child. So now we have a concept, and they shall not escape. So this day of the Lord, then it's coming as a thief in the night. Then we don't know when it's going to happen, but scriptures, and we're running in so many different books, getting all of these precepts, and it's all saying the same thing. You know, that's how these precepts work when you're doing them correctly. They don't break, then they are going to give you that same warning that this day of the Lord, then it's coming. And it's not the way that the Christians, you know, they make it out to be. Like when you look at these precepts, and he's coming with a sword and with judgment. So next, then we have Revelations chapter 16, verse 15. So we're going to look at another precept in chapter 16, verse 15. All right. So behold, I come as a thief. So this is Christ speaking. So wise is he that watcheth. So then you're not sleep in the night. You know, sleep in this darkness, then you're awake, then you're sober. And keepeth his garments. So you're covering, which, you know, he's covering, which he's covered us is with salvation and righteousness. And you're not forsaking that. Lest he walketh naked, and they see his shame. Then when he shows up, then you don't want to be naked and exposed to your shame, and you want to keep your garments. So next, now we are getting ready to go to the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 38 through 44, and then we'll get ready to go back to the preceptor. So got another precept, which I missed at. Go back. 24, verse 38 through 44. All right. So for as in the days that were before the flood of all of these doctrines, they were eating. So people that was around during Noah's time. So they were eating, learning, and drinking. So all of these falsities and these unclean ways. So marrying, not only that, same thing that you see today with all of the mixing with the people of the lands and given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, so the heart of God, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall 2 be in the field, so the one shall be taken and the other left. So 2 women shall be grinding at the mill, The one shall be taken and the other left. So watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doeth come. So this is another precept letting us know the same thing. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched. And that's clear enough. If a lot of us knew exactly what day and hour he would come, many of us that, are unfaithful and have lust in our hearts to do things that are contrary to the Spirit of God, we would be doing so much wickedness, and then right coming up to that day and hour, we would just be getting ourselves together and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. So therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. So it's what we have to keep in mind, that we don't know the day or the hour that he's coming, but when he arrives, then you don't want to be just not ready, then you want to be prepared. And if you're getting caught up with the things like all of these distractions and all of this uncleanness and filthiness in this world, you won't be ready. So let's go ahead and pull back up the preceptor. So now we're getting ready to go to Isaiah chapter 66, verse 15 through 17. So like we're back in the preceptor and we're in this box all the way to the right. So picking it up at verse 15, for behold, so remember, the Lord, so the Spirit of God will come with fire, which we had already seen that right here in this 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 7 and 8, right here. So, for behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. You don't want to get caught up on the wrong side of that. So, verse 16, for by fire and by his sword, which we know that his sword, and that's his judgment, will the Lord plead with all flesh. So it's not, all of this begging and the way that the Christians look at it. Precepts, when you look at that, then he's coming to render his wrath, and it's going to be a visitation when he shows up. So, for by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many, which, I'm going to end up bolding this and highlighting it and underlining it, because the Christians, their entire doctrine, and it's so much different than what the precepts tell you. Then they think that, a whole lot of us is just going to be gathered up and getting raptured, and it's going to be a big old reunion in the kingdom. And when you look at the precepts, it's letting you know the slain of the Spirit of God is going to be many. So, a whole lot of us is not going to make the cut. So let's look at some precepts, and we're going to go to 2nd Idris chapter 9, verse 15 and 16. So back in the King James Version online, and we're going to grab some more precepts. So 2nd Idris 9, 15 and 16. All right. So starting at verse 15. I have said before, and now do I speak. So he already told us this before, and he's getting ready to repeat himself. And will speak it also hereafter, that there be many more of them which perish than of them which shall be saved. Same thing that we had already seen in Isaiah chapter 66, verse 16. A whole lot of us is going to perish and be saved. Like as a wave is greater than a drop. So now we have a comparison where you can just take a drop of water, just put it in a petri dish, then go out to your nearest beach and just look at a wave. Then look at the contrast, the magnitude. It's going to be a whole lot of us that are going to perish and be saved. So now we're getting ready to go to Romans chapter 12, verse 2, because there's something that Paul needs to tell us real quick. So Romans chapter 12, verse 2. So, and be not conformed to this world, which we had already seen in 1 John chapter 2, verse 14 through 17, and we looked at James 4 and 4. And you don't want to be tied to this world when Christ comes back. So, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good. So the things that are according to the Spirit of God, that acceptable and perfect will of God. So you don't want to be tied to this world when he gets back. So another precept that we're getting ready to go to is we're going to actually go back and look at 1 John chapter 2, verse 16. So, all of this is tying and it's sticking. So 1 John 2 and 16. So for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. So we have to remember that. We have to keep that in mind, which, now some more precepts hit me, then I'm going to go ahead and bring them out since they just hit my head. So Romans chapter 8, we're going to go to verse chapter 8, and we'll look at, let's scroll down. Where is it? We're going to look at verse 5, and we'll go all the way to verse 8. So starting at verse 5, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, which we know that the things of the flesh, and that's just go to Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 to 21. But they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. And this is why. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed so in works can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. That's why you don't want to be tied to this world right here. So let's go ahead and pull back up the preceptor. So going back to verse 16 with Isaiah chapter 66. So we're going to start over and look back at 16. For by fire and by his sword, so its judgment, will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. We already know that flesh and blood, then it can't please God. So let's look at 17. This is what we do. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree, which you just go to Genesis chapter 2, and we already know that tree of the knowledge of good and evil that we wasn't supposed to be learning from. So behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh. So this unclean doctrine and the abomination. So the things that are most hated of the Most High, and the mouse, which a mouse, and it's just a creeping thing, shall be consumed together, saying the Lord. So when he gets back, all of us that are purifying ourselves behind this one tree, us that are learning the swine's flesh and the abomination and the creeping thing shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. So let's go ahead and look at this just to make sure that we have this mouse down and we have that correct. So we're going to pull back up to King James Version Online, and we're going to go to Leviticus chapter 11, verse 29, just to look at it. Leviticus 11, verse 29. All right. So these also shall be unclean to you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth. So the weasel and the mouse, there go the mouse right there, and the tortoise after his kind. So when you look at these spiritually, you just study these creatures for their characteristics and you apply these to people. We're not supposed to be learning from the mouse. Then it's unclean. So we're going to go to verse 41 through 44, then we're going to skip down. And every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not be eating. So you don't learn of these abominable creeping things. So let's go to verse 44. So, for I am the Lord your God. You shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and you shall be holy. So you separate yourselves. For I am holy. So neither shall you defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So, whole lot of our people, then we're going to do the contrary and get caught up by defiling ourselves with these creeping things. When the Most High, then he already told us, what we're supposed to be learning from. So, we'll go to book of Genesis, and we'll go to chapter 1, verse 29. And God said, behold, so we have to remember, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which that seed, then it's the word of God, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree, and the which is the fruit, so the works of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, so for bread, for doctrine. But, we're going to learn, and some of us, we elect to learn from these creeping things that are just going to devour us. But let's go ahead and go back up to the preceptor. So now we have 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 11 and 12. So we're getting ready to go to our next precept. So seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, which this is continuing from 2 Peter 3 and 10, where it's letting us know that the day of the Lord, then it's coming. And this heaven and earth that we're in right now, it's going to be burnt up. So let's go to back to 11 and 12. So seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? Then this is what we should be doing, making haste. So, being very careful about how we use our tongue and our mouth, not speaking all sorts of unclean and profane things, and working godliness with our hands. So looking for and hasting, so being urgent, that's why in these thumbnails for these past 3 series, you see that urgent stamp there. So looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of God, when the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. So, Peter, then he's giving us a warning. Since we're reading this stuff and we're looking at these prophecies that are going to be fulfilled, we're already getting the upper hand, getting to see all of this stuff before it actually happens. We should be making haste, getting ourselves ready, getting prepared, keeping watch. So let's look at Sirach chapter 5, verse 7. So make no tarrying to turn to the Lord. So then you don't be slow returning back to the Creator, and put not off from day to day. Which, when you look at that part of the verse, you have a lot of us that may do these New Year's resolutions, or they may tell themselves, you know what, next week, then I'm going to get ready. Or, in 6 months from now, then I'm going to get ready. Or, after my birthday, when I turn, 32 or 33, that's when I'm going to get ready. Or, when I turn 25, I'm going to get ready then. Or, after I get my income tax, I'm going to get ready. Or after this Passover, then I'm going to get ready. You don't keep putting it off. And this is why. For suddenly, which we know that we don't know the day or the hour, but once those seeds that the Most High is looking for is fulfilled, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth. And in thy security, which is these scoffers, and those are the ones that are enjoying this war right now, the things that are present, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance. So, you can't make no tarrying. Then you have to take these warnings that, our forefathers are letting us know in these scriptures and be ready. So we're getting ready to go to 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 3 through 4. So we're back in this left box all the way and going back to recap. So picking it up at verse 3. So knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days, so scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. Which now we're getting ready to go back to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, verse 21 and 22. Such things did they imagine and were deceived. And this is why, for their own wickedness has blinded them. As for the mysteries, so the wisdom of God, they knew them not, neither hoped them for the wages of righteousness, nor discerned a reward for blameless souls. So, because of this doubt and unbelief that they have, they're working all sorts of iniquity with the work of their hands. And, since they're getting caught up by the lust that's in their heart, they're being deceived and blinded by that. So let's go ahead and pull up another precept. Then we're going to go to 2nd Esdras chapter 7, verse 22 and 23. So we can look at this some more. Actually, let me fix that. 22, 23. All right. So nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spoke against him and imagined vain things, which that's what we were just looking at in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, verse 21 and 22, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds. That's exactly what we were just looking at in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, verse 21 and 22, and said of the Most High that he is not and knew not his ways. So problem is pride, where then you're just denying the Most High, and then the rebellion when you know not his ways and you're just doing your own thing. But his law have they despised, and denied his covenants and his statutes. They have not been faithful and have not performed his works. Now that's what these scoffers are going to do. And we have to make sure that, we look ourselves in the mirror and we examine ourselves to make sure that we're not in this group, because if we are, then we have to make those adjustments. So going back to the preceptor, so we looked at Sirach 5 and 7. We don't need to be making notarian or pitting it off from day to day, because we know that suddenly he's going to bring forth his wrath. And, you don't want to be these scoffers that are saying of the Most High, he's not, and, rejecting his ways. Because if you do that, you're getting caught up in your own security and you will be destroyed. So let's go to Psalms chapter 119, verse 59 and 60. So I thought on my ways and turned my feet unto thy testimonies. I made haste and delayed not to keep thy commandments. That's what we have to do. So, that's precept right there out of the book of Psalms. So I made not haste and delayed not to keep thy commandments. And now then we have Luke chapter 12, verse 42 through 46, which this one now then it's touching up on the servants of the Most High that are out here feeding his people. We're not off of the hook either. So picking it up at verse 42, and the Lord said, who then is that faithful and wise steward, whom his Lord shall make ruler over his household, to give them, the household, their portion of meat, so doctrine in due season. So blessed, wise is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you, that he will make him ruler over all that he has. So when the Creator shows up, even the servants, then they need to be doing what's right. And now we have the warning for verse 45. And if that servant saith in his heart, so my Lord delayeth his coming, which, I'm going to go ahead and bold this and underline it, because, now in the servant, and if that servant saith in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, so he's being like a scoffer now, and shall begin to beat the men servants and maid servants, so you're afflicting them, which we have to look at that spiritually, and to eat and drink and to be drunken. So now these servants, they've gotten so blinded, and, they're saying in their heart, the Most High, yeah, and they just start doing their own thing. They're eating and drinking, so learning and being drunken in the wickedness that's in their heart. Look what's going to happen. Verse 46, so the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him. So you're going to get caught with your shorts down. And at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in asunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. Then it can happen just like that. And I do believe that Elder Johnson, if it wasn't him, it was Elder Jenkins that, said, that's playing that Russian roulette, and you don't want to do that, and you can't afford, to do that. And, going back to this cutting asunder, all of that's talking about is you're going to get cut off. So, even as servants of the Most High, then we have a duty too to make sure that we're ready. Because if we start eating and drinking and becoming a drunken, Christ shows up, that's it for us. It's a wrap. So let's look at Genesis chapter 17, verse 14, just to make sure that we all have this clear. So, the people that are learning, turning into the KJBU, and also the servants that are doing the feeding. So now we're getting ready to go to the law. And we got Genesis chapter 17, verse 14. And the uncircumcised man-child, which this uncircumcised that's in the heart, man-child, male or female, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. That's what's going to happen. He has broken my covenant. So we have to keep that in mind. Then when he shows up, then if your heart is uncircumcised, then you will be cut off. Then there's nothing that you can say to him at that point. And it's same analogy that I was using with that hourglass. Then we don't know how much time is left, but when it's time is up and he's ready to show up, if you're not ready, that's it. So with that, we're getting ready to go down some more, because we did at the end of verse 46 said, the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in asunder, and will appoint him his portion with the unbelievers, which that portion, it's just the second death. So now we have Revelations chapter 21, verse 8. So our next precept. But the fearful and unbelieving, which, you just, this unbelieving right here that I tagged in orange, you just put that right here with that unbelievers in the book of Luke 12 and 46. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable, so the people that are doing things that God hates, and murderers, which that's spiritually and carnally, and whoremongers, which that's spiritually and carnally as well, and sorcerers, which the sorcerers, these are these false prophets that are deceiving people with lying divinations and enchantments, and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in a lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. So that's what's going to happen if he shows up and you're not ready. Then you're going to have your portion with the unbelievers. So, we have to keep this in mind. So now we're getting ready to go back to the law. So we have Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 19 to 20. The Most High, then he's covering all of his bases all throughout the Bible, from the Apocrypha to the New Testament, all the way back to the Old Testament, that he's not playing. That he's serious about this pride. Don't want to be a scoffer. So picking it up at verse 19, and it come to pass when he heareth the words of this curse, that he bless himself. So you're going to give yourself some knowledge in your heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of my heart, which we know that the heart, and it's wicked. To add drunkenness, so not only stubbornness, that's what that drunkenness is, to thirst, so that's lack of knowledge. The Lord will not spare him, which I have no idea why I didn't highlight this like I should have. Like, this is what's going to happen. So the Lord will not spare him, but then the anger of the Lord and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him, and the Lord shall blot out his name from under heaven. So we have to see these things. And, I'm pretty sure this teaching, and it's tough for a lot of people. It was tough for me, and I'm the one that put this together. But, the Most High, then he doesn't care, about, what we think. Then his word is absolute, and this is how it's going to go down. So we have to make sure that we're on the right side of this plumb line. So getting ready to go to the next precept. So this is for these scoffers right here. So we have Sirach chapter 5, verse 1 through 6. So set thy heart upon thy goods, and say not, I have enough for my life. So let me go back and look at this. Actually, I want to go to the book and make sure that's, because I could have, let me, Sirach, chapter 5, verse 1. Yep. Excuse me, family. And got to copy that not out of there and put this in here. As soon as I read it, then didn't look right. Let me fix this. So I'm going to take this out so I can have more keys to use. And we'll put that in there. All right. Now, so Sirach chapter 5, verse 1 through 6. So set not thy heart upon thy goods, and say not, I have enough for my life. So, you're not supposed to be just living your best life and just enjoying this one. Follow not thy own mind in thy strength to walk in the ways of thy heart, which, I'd said it earlier, the heart is desperately wicked and who can know it? We're going to see this. So we're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9 and 10, just to look at this so we can all see it. So Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9 and 10. So the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So I, the Lord, searcheth the heart. So I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. So the work of your hands. So scriptures is already telling us right there that our hearts are wicked. And not only that, the Most High, then he's going to access your heart, and depending on, how your heart is, then that's going to be what he's going to render to you. So going back to our preceptor, follow not thine own mind in thy strength to walk in the ways of thy heart, and say not, who shall control me for my works? So don't be prideful, for the Lord will surely revenge thy pride. Say not, I have sinned, and what harm has happened unto me? But this is why, for the Lord is long-suffering. So then we know that this world, and it hadn't been burnt up right now because he's waiting for the number of seeds to be fulfilled. But once he gets that, this world is going to get its judgment. So say not, I have sinned, and what harm has happened unto me? For the Lord is long-suffering. He will in no wise let thee go. So let's look at this pride real quick. Then we're going to go to Revelations chapter 18, verse 7 and 8. So we can see how this works. When you're so prideful and you think, what harm is going to happen to you. Revelations, like it's going to tell you. So Revelation 17 and 7 and 8. So how much she has glorified herself and liveth deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore, for that very reason, at pride, shall her plagues come in one day. So death and mourning and famine, which you have to really take heed to all of those. And she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. So you don't want to get caught up in that. Fire, then you don't want it. So getting ready to go back to our preceptor. So concerning propitiation, be not without fear to add sin unto sin, and say not, his mercy is great. He will be pacified for the multitude of my sins. So this is no different than what we was looking at in the book of Deuteronomy, which I'm going to scroll back up there, what we had just seen right here. And it shall come to pass, when he heareth the words of this curse, that he bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of my heart, to add drunkenness to thirst. The Spirit of God will not spare him. But then the anger of the Lord in his jealousy shall smite against that man, which this is M-A-N, so that's male or female, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him, and the Lord shall blot out his name from under heaven. So let's go back and look at this precept again. So concerning propitiation, be not without fear to add sin unto sin, and say not, his mercy is great. He will be pacified for the multitude of my sins. This is why you don't do this. For mercy and wrath cometh from him, which these Christians, they only think that God has a merciful side, then they completely disregard that he has a hot side too. And his indignation rests upon sinners. Like we already looked at Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9 and 10, where it made it clear that the Most High, then he tries the heart, and he's going to render to every last one of us according to the fruit of our doings. So then you don't, even though then I'm walking after the imagination of my heart, the Most High and his mercy is so great, and he's going to be pacified with the multitude of my sins. You don't do that concerning your propitiation, which, I have this green so we can see what this is talking about. So we're going to go to the book of Sirach, chapter 35, verse 3, to learn what this propitiation is. So Sirach 35 and 3. So to depart from wickedness is a thing pleasing to the Lord, to the Creator, and to forsake unrighteousness is a propitiation. So, when we're making an atonement, getting right with the Most High, then we don't need to be, just being lukewarm about it or setting light, with the Spirit of God, just going both ways. No, you don't do that. So, concerning propitiation, be not without fear to add sin unto sin. We have to keep that in mind. So, let's go down some more. We have 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 13. So, nevertheless, we, according to his promise, looketh for new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness, which, that's another thing that we need to key in on. So I'm going to go ahead and bold this. This new heaven and earth, it's going to have righteousness in it. So when you look around and you see all of the things that are going on today with, the robberies, all of the murdering, all of the killing, the fornication, just all of these things that's going on right here, none of that is going to happen in the kingdom to come, because there will be a filtering out. And you want to make sure that you're on the right side of the plumb line. So let's go to Isaiah 65 and 17. For behold, remember, which is Christ, and he's repeating himself, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former, which this is the one that we're in right now, shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. Which, Elder Johnson went over this in Revelations 21 and 1, and I'm going to go over it again so, we can see this. These precepts, and they tied together so good. But, we'll look at it. So Revelations 21 and 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth, which this is the one that we're in right now, were passed away, and there was no more sea. So all of this, and this is clear, and these precepts are kicking in. And we have to also know that this new heaven and earth that we're looking for it, and if you're waiting on his promise, it's going to have righteousness in it. So, let's go to this next verse. So now we have Psalms chapter 15, verse 1 through 5. So, Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Which, this is a question that all of us, we should be asking, and every one of us, then we should be eager to know the answer. So, Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? So, here's the answer. So he that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness and speaketh the truth in his heart. So we already seen right in 2 Peter 3 and 13, this new heavens and earth is going to have righteousness in it. And David is letting us know the same thing in Psalms chapter 15, verse 2. So he that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness and speaketh the truth in his heart. So he that backbiteth not with his tongue. So all of this complaining and murmuring, people like that, it's not going to be in there. Nor doeth evil to his neighbor. So you're not doing things that are contrary to the Spirit of God to your neighbor. nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor. So, not those people either. In whose eyes a vile person is contemned, but he honoreth them that feareth the Lord, so that desireth the Spirit of God. He that sweareth to his own hurt and changeth not. He that putteth not out his money, so your knowledge to usury, so you're not doing this for credit, for gain, nor taketh reward against the innocent. So he that doeth these things shall never be moved. Which, now that I think about it, then I had a precept that was similar to this one right here in a teaching that I did 2 weeks ago. So, I have my mouse right here. Then we're going to go back over to the box far on the left. So this was teaching I did 2 weeks ago. This was the first warning. We had Psalms chapter 24, verse 3 through 6. So who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stay in his holy place? So he that has clean hands, so you're not working iniquity and things that are against the Spirit of God, and a pure heart. So you've circumcised that heart. Then we already looked at Genesis 17 and 14. The uncircumcised are going to be getting cut off. Who has not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully. He shall receive the blessing from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. So that's Psalms 24 and 3 through 6. And you can precept that with Psalms chapter 15, verse 1 through 5 over here in this right box. So we're going to go to Isaiah chapter 16, verse 22 and pull some more precepts out of the King James Version online. So let me go ahead and pull that back up. So we have Isaiah chapter 66, verse 22. We're going ahead and pull that up. Hold on. 66 and verse 22. All right. For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. So we know that new kingdom that's coming, then it's not going to be like this one right here. This one that's going to pass away. Then it's new heaven and earth, then it's going to remain. And the reason, why I was bringing this all up is because of what we had just seen over in Psalms 15 and 5, where it was telling us, what a citizen of this new holy hill is going to be like. We've seen exactly what the descriptions of that citizen is, and people that are doing the things, having that clean heart, not working iniquity, not swearing deceitfully, they're not going to be moved, which we can see this in Isaiah 66 and 22. For as new heavens and a new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. Let's look at another precept. So we're going to pull the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 2. So let me go ahead and pull that up. So the book of Baruch 4 and 2. Let me scroll down. So actually, let me pick it up at verse 1. So this is a book of the commandments of God, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. So that's our precept right there. Then if you're doing, what we're supposed to be doing, you're going to come to life, and you're not going to be moved. So let's go on ahead and go to our next precept. Now we have Revelations 22 and 14. So wise are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter through the gates into the city. So if you're doing the commandments, we know that wisdom, it's going to come unto you. And when you have that seed in your heart, you're going to be able to enter into the gates into the city. It's the whole point. And let's go to Psalms chapter 118 and 20. So which can't scroll down enough, but I'll just try to hit the back button. Nope. So we're just going to pull it up in the preceptor. So Psalms chapter 118 and 20. That's what we need to look at. So Psalms, Esther, so excuse me, this fat finger with that. So Psalms chapter 118 and 20. So this gate of the Lord, into which the righteous shall enter. So, all of these precepts, and I was running this so, we can have all of this clear, which I'm pretty sure that, I do go overboard, then I use way more precepts than, I should to get the point across. But, I just wanted all of us to be perfectly clear in these three warnings that, this heaven and earth that's coming, righteousness is only going to be in there. Then it's not a freebie like this one is. And if you're living for this world right here, you're going to miss the one to come. So with that being said, this clears and completes the series that I'd been doing, this 3-part series. And before, I get ready to move on to the next announcements I had, then I just wanted to make sure, was everybody clear with these 3 videos? Do we need to go into Zoom for anything? So I'm going to give like the comment section like a minute. All right, and I'm still waiting. All right, so, and I'm just take that as, everybody it's good to go. So y'all are looking at my screen now. What I'm showing is Kids King James Bible University. So, for people that are watching right now, what I do encourage is that Monday, when Elder Johnson does the next Kids King James Bible University teaching, even if like you're an adult and you don't have kids, you should really show up and sit in, because Elder Johnson, and he does show a whole lot of pearls and jewels that he usually doesn't show in the front, or in some of his other stuff. Because when you're speaking to children, and you have to really make it clear to where they can understand it, and like these teachings are pretty solid. So I do encourage, and if you hadn't been looking and tuning in to the Kids King James Bible University, I would definitely tomorrow, be there when he gets ready to go live, and when he creates that Zoom link, come in the back. Like what he's doing, like it's real remarkable. And these kids that he's already working with, they're sharp. Like it's just astounding when you're sitting there listening to what they have to say. How he throws him a question that would trip a whole lot of adults, and these kids that are, most of them, some of them are in a single digit ages, like they can answer questions with so much intelligence and knowledge. So definitely come in the back. He's wrapping up Genesis chapter 1, and he'll be going into 2. With that being said, I have something next week. So till next time, peace.